The gods descend. They came not in peace, but in judgment. The skies above Earth turned gold the day the Hastag Dominion arrived. Massive ships, shaped like blades and thrones, eclipsed the sun as they slid silently into orbit. Cities paused, breath held in awe and dread. Their arrival wasn't broadcast in warmth. It was declared in command. A single transmission played across every screen, every device, hijacking satellites and firewalls with effortless superiority. I am High Executor Selkaran of the Hastag Dominion. A regal, silver-eyed alien declared, his voice soaked in ancient contempt. You now exist under our protection. Rejoice, for your species is granted purpose. Purpose, as it turned out, meant slavery. Orbital strikes followed within the hour. Earth's orbital defenses were reduced to molten rings. Military bases vanished in coordinated flashes. Communications collapsed. The few remaining generals argued over scraps of information and shredded chain of command. Selkaran's voice returned, colder now. Your resistance is irrelevant. Submission ensures survival. Defiance guarantees extinction. By day 3, the United Nations surrendered unconditionally. Cities like Shanghai, Lagos, Sao Paulo, and Chicago fell under occupation. Towering quadruped walkers patrolled streets. Humans were tagged, sorted, and carted off. Miners, breeders, laborers, experiments. Entire nations were disassembled into workforce quotas. And yet, amid the burning embers, a few refused to kneel. In the jagged Rockies of Colorado, beneath a gutted military installation, Commander Amina Rhodes pulled the blackout curtain shut and exhaled slow. We've got 5 minutes before that patrol swings back around, she whispered. Her squad, 8 survivors from the 5th Orbital Recon Brigade, barely looked like soldiers anymore, covered in dust, blood, and ragged camo. But they still had fire in their eyes. They've taken orbit, said Reyes, the squad tech. Global comms are offline. It's like the whole damn world just went quiet. Rhodes nodded grimly. That's exactly what they want. She stared at the holotable, flickering, jury-rigged, projecting a partial scan of the Hastag fleet. 3 capital ships, dozens of subvessels, 0 weaknesses. Any word from Southcom? Asked Gwyn, their medic. Rhodes shook her head. We're it. Silence. Then Reyes leaned forward, his voice low. If they can be analyzed, they can be broken. It wasn't courage they had. It was something older, something deeper. Not just defiance, but the refusal to accept chains, no matter how divine the hand that offered them. The Hastag had ruled the stars for over 12,000 years. They believed themselves eternal, untouchable. But they had never conquered Earth before. They had never tried to enslave humans before. And they had no idea what kind of mistake they'd just made. Ashes and iron. 6 months into occupation, Earth no longer slept. Cities still burned beneath golden towers. The Hastag had reshaped Earth's skylines into monuments of control. Spires pulsed with alien energy, and great orbital lifts harvested Earth's resources for off-world processing. The Dominion's grip seemed unshakable. But under the ashes, iron was being forged. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, Commander Amina Rhodes stood before a flickering console inside Haven 1, a vast underground complex built from old NORAD bunkers, expanded in secret. What had once been a Cold War relic was now humanity's last hope, the heart of the resistance. Across the command room, engineers worked beside scrapped alien tech. Curved Hastag consoles now wired to human code. Giant plasma coils, taken from downed Dominion walkers, were repurposed into power cores. Prototype reactor stable, called Dr. Elias Verne, chief scientist and defector from the UN Defense Directorate. She held through the last stress cycle. Good, Rhodes said, because we're not building a bunker. We're building a warship. Verne smiled. Then it's nearly ready. The HSS Vengeance, Earth's first hybrid. Rhodes allowed herself a breath of satisfaction. The Vengeance had been a dream when they first found the Hastag wreckage. But now, its angular hull was nearly complete, cloaked in layers of scavenged Dominion alloy. Human-designed subsystems, manual overrides, AI targeting matrices, even a primitive warp drive. were fused together with alien cores. Still, she knew it wasn't enough. Not unless the galaxy heard them. Miles away, in the dark jungles of Central Africa, a resistance cell led by Major Kwame executed the boldest raid since the invasion. They infiltrated a Dominion terraforming station, shut down its atmospheric regulators, and detonated charges that collapsed the entire complex. For the first time, the VA Scari lost a key strategic node and didn't recover it. Similar attacks flared across Earth. In Siberia, insurgents turned Dominion drones against their masters. In orbit, scavengers hijacked cargo ships. A whisper spread. Humans were no longer running. They were retaliating. But retaliation came at cost. Back in Haven 1, Rhodes watched a silent feed of Nairobi's destruction. After the raid, the VA Scari bombarded the city to ash. Millions died. Vern approached, gently placing a hand on her shoulder. "They'll break us if we don't hit back harder." She nodded, jaw tight. "Then we give them a message they'll never forget." 1 week later, Dominion communications across the sector flickered and died. A hijacked signal echoed through every VA Scari comm node and slave relay. Commander Rhodes appeared on every Dominion channel, dust-streaked, bloodied, unbowed. "This is for the enslaved. For every race you've silenced. For every world you've burned. We are humanity. We do not kneel, and we are coming for you." Behind her, the vengeance rose from the underground cradle, engines blazing. The galaxy had its first taste of human defiance. The gods had ruled unchallenged. But now, they provoked something worse than war. Rebellion. The shattered throne. The HSS Vengeance pierced the void, its hull stitched together by desperation and ingenuity. What began as scrap was now a blade, wielded not just by Earth, but by the dozens of enslaved species watching the rise of humanity, like a sunrise in eternal night. Commander Amina Rhodes stood at the bridge, eyes locked on the holographic map of their target. Valar Prime, the Dominion's jewel world, home of its ancient seat of power. It was more than a planet, it was a symbol, untouched by rebellion in over 12,000 years. Until now, all fleets in position, reported Reyes, now promoted to tactical officer. The Freeborn, the Taurix Corsairs, even the Gulari sent stealth frigates. "We've never had this many allies." "They're not allies yet," Rhodes replied. "But they will be, once they see we can do the impossible." The assault began in shadow. Stealth pods launched from hidden asteroid bases, carrying infiltrators into the orbital defense grid. VA Scari guards, expecting no threat, were cut down by Gulari assassins and human commandos. AI viruses surged through Dominion systems, turning their own sentry satellites into blind spots. The Vengeance and its strike fleet emerged from hyperspace near the moon of VA Toric, unleashing precision strikes on outer shipyards. Dominion dreadnoughts scrambled to respond, but coordination faltered. Human cyber warfare, primitive by Dominion standards, proved unpredictable and deadly. Rhodes gave the order. "Target the throne spire. Bring it down." A swarm of torpedoes and beam lances battered the massive tower that housed the Dominion Council. Shields shimmered, buckled, then failed. On the ground, revolts ignited. Former slaves, driven underground for centuries, rose up in unison. Explosions rocked control hubs. Planetary cannons meant for invaders turned inward. Valar Prime had never imagined rebellion could come from within. But the throne cracked from both sides. Aboard the Dominion flagship Omniprex, High Executor Selkarin watched the chaos unfold. His eyes blazed with fury and disbelief. "These creatures," he growled, "they crawl from mud and dare strike the divine." He had grown used to fear, to obedience. But when Rhodes and her strike team boarded the bridge, smoke and sparks trailing in their wake, he saw no fear in her eyes. "Executor," she said, leveling her pulse rifle, "your millennia are up." Selkarin activated his personal shield, drawing a blade humming with energy. "You think killing me changes the stars?" "No," Rhodes replied, stepping forward. "But it reminds them they can change." Their battle was brutal. Selkarin was stronger, faster and enhanced. But Rhodes was human, and that meant relentless. She took wounds and gave worse. When his shield finally flickered out, she drove her blade through his chest. He collapsed, choking. This cannot be. She leaned in, blood dripping from her chin. It is. As Selkarin's body burned, the Dominion's command network fractured. Without its head, the Empire reeled. Rebellions ignited across dozens of worlds. Formerly enslaved species seized control of orbitals and shipyards. Dominion fleets retreated or were torn apart by those they once ruled. Valar Prime fell. The unthinkable had become real. The gods bled, and the stars, for the first time in ages, whispered a name not in fear, but in hope. Humanity. The day the stars changed. Smoke still drifted from the ruins of Valar Prime when the galaxy turned its eyes to Earth. Not with contempt, but with awe. The Valar Dominion was broken. Its fleets scattered, its throne reduced to molten rubble. Worlds once chained by fear now dared to speak freely. The unthinkable had happened. The gods had fallen, and the ones who cast them down were human. Commander Amina Rhodes stood on the observation deck of the HSS Vengeance, now docked above the liberated world. Ships from newly freed civilizations gathered in orbit, their colors and designs wildly different, yet united by a single truth: they were no longer slaves. Behind her, Dr. Vern stepped into the room. We've confirmed the last stronghold in the Garrick system has fallen. Local populations are taking control. And the surviving Valar, she asked, fleeing into deep space. Some still resist. Others they're hiding. Rhodes didn't smile. Let them run. Let them remember. In the weeks that followed, a summit was called. Not on Valar Prime, but on neutral ground. A lifeless moon now transformed into a beacon of change. Representatives of 32 species, once scattered and oppressed, arrived in makeshift ships and patched uniforms. Rhodes addressed them not as a conqueror, but as a survivor. We did not come to replace tyrants, she said, voice echoing across open comms. We came to end them. What we build next must be better than what fell. From that summit, the Celestial Accord was born, a coalition built not on domination, but cooperation. Worlds would govern themselves. Trade would be open. Defense would be shared. Humanity refused the throne. But they offered something far more powerful: hope. Still, all was not peace. Far beyond known space, probes vanished in the abyss. Signals, ancient and indecipherable, flickered in the dark. Some whispered of empires that had fled before even the Valar rose. Things older, deeper, and watching once again. But the galaxy was no longer theirs to consume. Not anymore. Inside the Vengeance's rebuilt war room, Rhodes studied the stellar charts. She marked refugee routes, pirate movements, unexplored sectors. Her hair was streaked with gray now. Her scars no longer hid, but her eyes still burned. Reyes entered, holding a datapad. Navigations cleared a corridor past the Zivar Rift. The new frontiers open. Rhodes nodded slowly. Then we go forward. To explore. To prepare, she replied. Because one day something worse will come. And when it does, she looked out at the stars, once distant, now burning with the fire of freedom. Then we remind them, she said, what happened the last time someone thought they could rule us. The galaxy would never forget the Dominion, but it would remember something far greater. The day humans fought back and won.